Level 1. Losing your job. The email lands at 4:12 on a Tuesday. Subject line: Action required employment status update. No meeting. No folder with your name on the tab. Not even the decency of a face across a table. Just a link to a portal and a case number. Fulfillment Center 7 is consolidating routes. Your position is being eliminated. You read it twice, standing in the break room with a microwave burrito going cold in your hand, and the second read doesn't hurt any less than the first. 2 years, 4 months. Every shift on time. Every write-up 0. It didn't matter. It was never going to matter. You call the only number in your phone that starts with a name instead of a company. Raina picks up on the third ring, static behind her, a baby crying somewhere in her house 3 states away. You tell her. She goes quiet the specific way people go quiet when they don't have money to give and hate that fact more than you do. Wish I could, she says, and you tell her you know, and you both let the silence do the rest, because Raina is the closest thing you've ever had to a sister, and sisters made of foster paperwork instead of blood can only stretch so far before something tears. There is no one else. Both your parents were gone before you turned 9. 14 years of group homes and placements after that, house to house, box to box, until you aged out at 18 with a trash bag and a Metro card and a caseworker's business card you still keep, out of habit, in a wallet that has almost nothing else worth keeping. No mother's kitchen to walk into, no spare room with a sewing machine and your name still on the door. When people say times go home, you've spent your whole life translating that sentence into something that applies to you, and it never quite does. Severance. None. You weren't there long enough by their formula. 2 weeks' pay. $1,080 before taxes. $829 after. Direct deposited like it's nothing. Like it isn't the entire distance between you and the edge. You open the banking app in the parking lot. $1,204.11. Rent. $1,050. Due in 11 days. You do the math and the math does something to your chest that feels like a fist closing slow. You apply to 30 jobs before midnight. You keep applying for 2 weeks straight, 31 more. Then 20. Then the number stops meaning anything. 4 rejections arrive at 3 a.m., which means a machine reads your whole work history in under a second and decides you're not worth a human's time. 1 interview. A recruiter half your age asks about your support system, and you say, "Times I've got a good network," because the truth is a sentence you've never once said out loud to a stranger, and you're not. Starting today. Unemployment approves you at $328 a week in 5 weeks. Nobody warns you about the 5 weeks. You just live inside them, watching the number in the app get smaller by a fixed, cruel amount every single day, like a countdown nobody agreed to start. By day 9, you've sold your gaming console for $90 and your winter coat for $40 to a man who tries it on in the parking lot before he'll pay you. You keep telling yourself this is temporary, the way you've told yourself that about everything your whole life, and some tired, ancient part of you has already stopped believing it. Day 16. The landlord's notice is taped to the door. Official, 3-day, printed in a font that doesn't care. You call 4 people. 2 don't pick up. 1 says, "Times I wish I could." The last one is Raina again, and this time she doesn't even let the silence finish before she says, quiet and ashamed, "You know if I had a room, it'd be yours." You tell her you know. You've always known. That's the whole tragedy of it, knowing exactly how much people love you and exactly how little that can do when nobody has a floor to spare. You pack what fits into 2 duffel bags and a milk crate. The rest goes to the curb, and by morning the city has already picked it clean, the way it always does, indifferent and efficient, like it's done this to somebody else the night before and will do it to somebody else the night after. You sit in your car outside the empty apartment with the keys still in your hand because you don't know who to return them to and it doesn't matter. You recline the seat an inch. Tell yourself it's just for tonight. It is not just for tonight. Level 2. Living in your car. You learn a city's whole second geography, the one that only exists after midnight, which lots don't get a flashlight in your face, which gas station lets you use the bathroom without buying anything, if you look tired enough and polite enough, which streets get swept at dawn. A patrol light finds you at 2 a.m. on night 4. The officer's face does the thing you'll come to recognize: the flicker of surprise at a clean shirt and a full trunk, like homelessness is supposed to announce itself, and you haven't read the memo. Lot behind the church on 9th, he says. Quieter than you expect. Nobody bothers that one. There's a woman 2 spots over who's lived in her hatchback for a year. She teaches you the rules the way you'd better learn them fast. Blanket folded and hidden by 7. Windows cracked 1 finger. Never let the tank drop under a quarter, because the engine is the only heater you own. She asks if you've got people. You say, not really. She nods like that answer is the most common one in the lot. The $10 a month gym becomes the center of your entire life. You shower at 6:40, shave, walk out looking like a man with an address, which is the only performance that matters anymore. One morning, a former coworker is on the next treadmill. You stand in the locker room doorway 4 full minutes until he leaves, and you tell yourself you don't know why, and you know exactly why. Day labor line, 5:10 a.m. Dark. You're the 12th man in it. Nobody explains anything. You watch. You show up again the next day, and the day after that, until your face becomes a fact the foreman recognizes, instead of a stranger he has to guess about. $11 an hour, cash, minus a $6 transport fee. The agency skims for a van ride with no seatbelts. $58 in your hand by 4 o'clock, in bills soft as cloth. You put $40 of it into a sock in the glove box every week you can manage it. Masking tape, a number and marker, not a plan yet, just a wall you're building 1 brick too small to see. The car dies on a Thursday, not stolen, not repossessed, just done. 17 years and 200,000 miles, surrendering all at once in a grocery store lot. You sit behind the wheel of a car that will never move again and understand, with a clarity that scares you, that the last walls you had just came down, and there is no house behind them. There never was. Level 3. Getting help. The shelter intake line forms at 4:30 in the cold. You stand in it with a duffel bag in each hand, between a woman rocking a stroller with no baby in it anymore and a man singing hymns to nobody. You think this is the bottom. You're wrong. The bottom has a basement. Inside, the rules aren't printed, but everyone learns them the same brutal way. In by 7 or lose the bed. Belongings in a numbered bin. Anything left out belongs to everyone now. You sleep with your bag strap wrapped twice around your wrist, and within a week you do it without thinking. And years from now, in a life you can't picture yet, some part of you will still reach for that strap in your sleep. The cot beside yours belongs to a man named Desmond 50-something. A laugh like a rusted gate, in and out of this building for a decade, carrying the whole broken map of the city in his head. He looks at your hands the first morning, the way they won't quite hold still, and says, new to this. Not to being alone in it. Nothing else. Out here, nobody asks your story, because everybody already knows the genre, and yours, no parents, no family floor, nowhere left to fall, is one they've seen wearing 100 different faces. You sell plasma twice a week. $50 the first time, $35 after. You sit for 40 minutes watching a muted cooking show, and Desmond calls it the oil change, and for 1 second you almost laugh, and the laugh costs you nothing, which by now feels like a miracle. Desmond has one rule he repeats like a station announcement: protect your mornings. A man who's up, washed, fed by 8, can still make a decision. After that, the day decides for you. You don't understand it yet. You will build your whole life on it later. A Tuesday, 6 a.m., lights coming up hard. They carry a man out of the far row, the quiet one, the one who kept to himself, and the coffee line doesn't even bend. That's what breaks something open in you. Not the man, the line. 40 men not looking, and you understanding, all at once, that this room has already practiced not looking at you too. You find Desmond out front and say 4 words you've never once said, in order. I need the list. He doesn't celebrate. He just nods, walks you 40 blocks to county intake, and sits in the bolted-down chairs for 5 hours, cracking jokes at the desk nurse until she gives up, pretending not to laugh. When your name is finally called, he stands, claps your shoulder once, and says, "Don't look for me after. Look forward." Level 4. Starting over. 6 days you will never describe to anyone, and anyone who'd ask hasn't earned the answer. On the 7th, a caseworker named Miss Alderman makes 11 calls in front of you like she's diffusing something with her bare hands. The 10th one lands a bed in a transitional house on Halden Street, run by a retired corrections officer. Everyone calls Miss Odell, 5 feet of quiet iron in a cardigan, who reads your intake sheet on the porch, looks at you exactly once over the top of it, and says, "No family listed. That's fine. You've got a house now. Rules are on the fridge. 3 of them. Rent is $75 a week, and that number saves your life, because it gives every single day a job to do." Miss Odell runs money the way she used to run a cell block, 4 envelopes, no apps, no philosophy. Rent, debt, tomorrow, and the smallest one, marked simply, you. Because right now, she says, so are you. Your first paycheck from the corkboard job dish pit at a diner, $12.75 an hour, is $341.60. You stand in the parking lot holding it like something that might dissolve if you grip it too hard. Tuesdays are house meetings. Thursdays, a church basement, folding chairs, coffee like a punishment, and it takes 11 weeks of sitting silent before you say the true sentence out loud for the first time. I don't have anybody. I never had anybody. Nobody gasps. A roofer named Ed just nods, like you've announced it's raining, and that ordinary nod does more for you than any speech ever could. Raina calls on Sundays now. She doesn't ask about the missing months. She talks about her kids' first steps for 20 minutes, and you'd gladly listen to her describe anything for the rest of your life, because it's the only voice left that knew you before any of this. 210 days clean, and you know the count without counting it runs in the background now, quiet, like a pilot light. Friday nights, after the envelopes, you sit on Miss Odell's porch steps with what's left in the Times You Times envelope, $9, sometimes $12, and you don't spend it. You start a 5th envelope. You label it, Start, Level 5. Making money. The idea comes from a regular at the diner named Otis, who hauls junk out of foreclosed houses for cash and sells what's worth saving. It ain't magic, he says between forkfuls of eggs. It's work nobody wants, wearing a mystery costume. Rule 1. He taps the table. Never fall in love with what you're carrying. It's not yours. It's money that hasn't happened yet. The Start envelope holds $260. A borrowed truck and a Saturday clear and abandoned 3-bedroom of a dead man's furniture for $150, flat rate, and you turn around and sell the dining set alone for $220. The arithmetic hits you like whether you just made 2 weeks of dish pit pay in 6 hours. You learn the trade by being wrong cheap, photograph everything, answer every message inside 10 minutes, because fast is a feature people pay for. And the rule you'll paint on a wall one day. The whole religion in 4 words. Describe what's broken. Buyers trust the man who names the crack, and they buy from him more, and faster, because honesty turns out to be rare enough to build a company on. A storage unit, $65 a month, becomes the stockroom. You keep the diner job another year on purpose. The job is the floor, the hauling is the ladder, and you don't confuse the two, not after everything the confusion has already cost you. When you finally give notice, the owner grunts once, which from him is a parade. Level 6. Building a business. An LLC costs $150 and a Tuesday morning. A retired bookkeeper from the Thursday meetings shows you a spreadsheet with a bottom line that tells you the truth every week, whether you want it or not. You buy a used cargo van at auction for $2,100 with a check engine light that never fully goes away, and you fix what you can with a manual and a borrowed work light. Growth is boring, which nobody warns you about. It's a printer that jams and mileage logs, and the 4-word religion said so many times it stops being a slogan and becomes a reflex. First full year, $210,000 gross. You hire the resumes with gaps in them, the ones every company quietly slides to the bottom of the pile because you remember exactly what it costs a person to be judged for the year they don't want to explain. Payday is Friday before noon. It has never once been late. That sentence is the mission statement, and you are not sentimental about it. You are just a man who has stood at the far end of a short paycheck and remembers its exact weight. Level 7. Selling the business. The negotiation takes 6 weeks. You are strange inside it, calm, in a way that unsettles the lawyers across the table, because they are bargaining over money, and you have already survived the places where money was only ever the way out. They land at $2.9 million for the company. You keep the building. The wire clears on a Tuesday morning. You're in a parking lot when the notification comes through, because you are always in a parking lot when it matters, and the sky stays exactly the same color it always is. Somewhere between a red badge light and this exact minute, a kid nobody was coming back for became worth more than the building that let him go. Level 8. Helping others. You call Raina first. She cries before you finish the sentence, and for once neither of you has to say times I wish I could, because now you can, and you do, quietly, for years. A standing transfer she doesn't ask about and you never mention. You still park facing the exit. You still keep a folded 20 behind your license like a fire extinguisher. You cannot walk past a shelter intake line without your chest doing something complicated, and some nights you still drive with no destination, just to be moving. The way the habit was built into you long before the money was. One of those nights you pass a car in a lot, windows fogged from the inside, a blanket folded small and hidden the way somebody once taught you to hide it. You know exactly what that is. You know it in your body before your mind finishes the sentence. You don't knock. You know better than anyone alive who hasn't lived it that nobody wants a stranger's knock at 1 a.m. And that the ladder out was never one rung, never one night, never one savior. So you drive 2 blocks to a diner with a bulletin board by the register, and you buy every gift card they have, and you pin them up with a note that has no name on it because you never had one on your envelope either. And you drive home, and you never tell a single soul, because somewhere tonight, in a fulfillment center that smells like cardboard, a badge reader blinks red for somebody else with no one to call. She'll try it twice, thinking it's a glitch. She'll do the math 3 times, hoping it comes out different. You know that math better than almost anyone alive. She's about to learn it from the very beginning,